Would you share maybe one of your ideas that really took off in a big way?
Well, actually there were two that came to mind, so I'll tell you both briefly.
Well, great.
The first one, this was a while ago. This was back in the early 90s, and I owned a restaurant in New York. It was a 3-star New York Times restaurant, and we were looking for ways to really, really set us apart in terms of marketing, because, as you know, that's a very competitive field to be in, right, restaurant business. And so I had a background in acting. I had been a professional actor in New York before that, and I said, what would be really cool would be if we did live murder mysteries in the restaurant.
Oh.
And no one was doing this. So I called up a bunch of actor friends, and I said, what do you guys think? And they said, this would be so much fun. So one of my friends was actually a script writer, and he put together this script, and we started doing these live murder mysteries. So people would come for a murder mystery dinner. It would be like a 4-course dinner. And during the course of the dinner, a murder would take place, and then this whole drama would unfold. And it was funny, and it would involve the audience. Well, these things took off like wildfire, and it ended up that we got all this publicity. It was the best free publicity we could have gotten. We got mentioned in all kinds of publications, including a couple of business publications, and it really, really started bringing new people in the door. Plus, every time we ran one of these murder mysteries, it was packed. So that was a fun idea that just came out of nowhere, just came out of my background, and we decided to try it.
Cool.
And then the second one involves you, Marnie, because if you remember about 5 years ago, I decided to start a mastermind group of women who were successful online, who wanted to help each other grow their businesses, and, of course, we had a wonderful group. And out of that grew a wonderful live event called the Radiant Success Event, which we did last year for the first time. And it was a tremendous success. People absolutely loved it, and now we're doing it again in late April. So that's just like a seed of an idea that can blossom, because that mastermind group, we started talking about doing a live event, and then, as you know, that developed into the live event.
Right.
But you know what? In both cases, I was really stepping outside my comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
In order to make those become a reality.
So stepping outside the comfort zone, that's one obstacle, I think, that people hit. What are some other obstacles maybe that you've seen people hit as they try to take their idea to income?
If you look at the big picture, there are two obstacles, two big obstacles, and if you can really work on overcoming these two obstacles, I think that you will just absolutely fast track from idea to income. The first one is mindset. So that's your thoughts, your habits, and false beliefs, because we all have beliefs that we've just we have ingrained in us that actually are not serving us any longer.
Right.
So thoughts, habits, and false beliefs. And the second one is lack of knowledge. It's heartbreaking to me when I see somebody that's talented and has great ideas, and I see this all the time, and the only thing standing between them and being successful is that they're great at delivering their service or their product, but they don't know how to run a business. They're two different things.
Right.
So that lack of knowledge of how to be an entrepreneur and how to run a successful business and how to really make money is the biggest obstacle standing between their idea and income.
Right. Now, do you have any tips on getting past those two?
If you don't overcome the obstacles, it's usually either because you haven't identified them or you are afraid to move past them. So I say you've got to use your IED, and we all know that's you've got to set an explosion off to really, really get yourself out of your comfort zone. So the IED stands for identify. So identify what the roadblock is. And this is going to take some real personal honesty to identify what it is. And then examine it. Look at it. And say, is this working for me? Is this true? Is this holding me back? Am I willing to let go of it? It's that examination phase. And then the D stands for decide. Decide whether you're going to take action to remove the obstacle, and decide if it's a belief that you have Like maybe you believe that this idea could never be an income-generating idea, for example. You have to ask yourself, is it false evidence appearing real, which I'm sure everybody's heard is an acronym for fear, false evidence appearing real. So identify, examine, and then decide. So if it's a mindset issue, that takes a lot of courage, I think. Business owners have to have a lot of courage to look at a mindset issue and say, somehow I believe this, and that belief that I'm coming to my business with every single day is holding me back.
Right.
And when it comes to lack of knowledge, I think a lot of people identify, gee, I'm not a master marketer. I'm not great at sales, or I'm doing some of it, but it's not working. They identify that, but they don't examine it and make a decision to get the help they need to push past that obstacle. So all of those three.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
IED. Okay.
Yeah, and then, what I suggest people do, because usually, I'm sure you've seen this too. I mean, for all of us, these are all basically fear-based, right?
Right.
That's the reason we don't do anything about them. They're fear-based. So there's a couple of tools that I could share.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that people can use. I say, have these in your toolbox that you can use. The first one is write down, if you're really afraid of something, like I run into a lot of people that are afraid of technology, which I know you can't even comprehend, Marnie, because you're like the most technically adept person I know. But write down what's the worst thing that could happen if that fear became a reality. What is the worst thing that could happen? And then ask yourself, could I handle that? Like, say the worst thing that could happen is you don't succeed at your business.
Right.
Well, if you have an obstacle now, you're probably not succeeding the way you would like to. So the worst thing that could happen is you stay where you are. And if you can handle that, then the next step is you admit it. I could handle that. So the next step is, even though you're afraid, you act anyway. I call it act through fear.
Mm-hmm.
And to be perfectly honest, I feel some fear each week. There's always something that we feel fear about. And if I get outside my comfort zone and I act anyway, amazing things happen. That's kind of like a mantra with me, is that I get outside my comfort zone constantly.
So that's just part of what you do, is constantly step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, not to the point where it's a crazy, nutsy risk, but, get outside my comfort zone.
No, you're not going to go bungee jumping tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely not going bungee jumping. That's not anywhere in my future. And then, so I call these fear-busting tools. And the other one I happen to use, but everyone has different ones, I use meditation, because one thing you can do with meditation is you just sit quietly and you just observe how that feeling of fear makes you feel in your body. So maybe it makes you feel tight in your chest, or maybe your stomach feels like it's clenching. And if you just breathe deeply and you focus on just releasing that feeling in your body, and you become very present in the moment, it's amazing how healing that is. Because most fear is really worrying about future possible problems that have never occurred yet. They're not in the present. So when you get in the present and you just concentrate on how it makes you feel in your body, and you release that, it releases the hold that fear has on you.